Find the slope of the line that passes through the 2 points, -1, 5, and 6, -2. To be able to find these, you need to have your slope equation. The slope is equal to the difference of the y values of the 2 points divided by the difference of the x values of those 2 points. When you are using this equation, it's very important that the y's are on top and the x's are on the bottom. It's also very important that you have the first point lined up over itself, and you have the second point lined up over itself. So don't mix the 2 points together. Get the first point in a column and the second point in a column. And you have to do the subtraction before the division. So before we can even plug these in, we have to identify which point is our first point, which point is our second point. It doesn't really matter which one's the first and the second. I'll show you both ways. So here, I'm going to label my x and my y. So this is going to be my first point, x, 1, x sub 1, comma, y sub 1, because you always have your x's, then your y's in any ordered pair. And then down here, this is my second point, and it's also x, y, so second point, second point. When you are first learning how to use this equation, it's very important that you label these x1, y1, x2, y2. That way, when you have your equation and you want to pull out y1, you have it labeled right there for you. So let's do that. Slope equals y1. Find y1. I see the value is 5. I write down 5. Minus. Write down my minus sign. y2. I find y2. I see the value is -2. I write down the -2. All of that is over x1. Find my x1. I see the number is -1, so I write down the -1. Minus x2. Find my x2. I see that it is 6. I write down 6. So one of the things to notice about this, how I wrote this, I have my minus sign and I have my negative sign, both of them. So now I'm going to combine those two together and I'm going to make them pluses. Minus a negative is plus a positive. So what I have here is 5 plus 2 over -1 minus 6. That's all I've done so far, is just change my minus a negative into plus a positive. So now I'm going to do the 5 plus 2. I get 7. I do the -1 minus 6. You owe $1, you go out, you buy another $6 worth of stuff, you now owe $7. So -7. Positive 7 divided by -7 equals -1. I now have my slope. Now, as I said, I'm going to do this the other way also. I said it doesn't matter which one is the first point, which one's the second point. So I'm going to go back here and I am going to change these. And I'm going to make this my second point, and I'm going to make this my first point. I'm going to go back to my equation. M equals y1. y1 is here. That's the -2. negative 2 minus y2. y2's up here. That's the 5. All of it over. So I have my giant fraction bar. x1. I find my x1. I see that it's 6. Minus x2. Find my x2. It's negative 1. So now, instead of having my double negative on the top, I have my double negative on the bottom because I have a minus 1, a negative 1 here. So I have minus from the minus sign, and the negative from the negative sign. So I need to combine the minus and negative and make it plus a positive. So here I have negative 2 minus 5 over 6 plus 1. Negative 2 minus 5. If you're not sure, go ahead and type it in your calculator. You get negative 7. Fraction bar, 6 plus 1, you get 7. Now we have negative 7, divide by positive 7, and that's negative 1. So now I found that my slope is negative 1. And that slope is the same as that slope. So it does not matter which point is your first point, which point is your second point. As long as you keep the first point over top of itself and the second point over top of itself. Y's over x's. Find the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points. Negative 8 comma negative 4 and 6 comma negative 7. Before I just start tossing the numbers into my equation, and you have to memorize that equation, I need to label these numbers so I know which one is which point and which one's the x, which one's the y. That way, when I'm stressed and trying to do my equation, all I have to do is pull the numbers out. I don't have to think about it anymore. So I know that I have x comma y because it's an ordered pair. I'm going to make this my first point. So I put a little 1 beneath and after my letter to say that that's my first point. Second point, I have my x comma y, and it's my second point. So I put a little number 2 after my letter to say that that's my second point. So x sub 1, y sub 1. X sub 2, y sub 2. Now I take my equation and I start working it out. M equals y1. Find my y1. I see it's negative 4. I write that down. Minus. Write down my minus sign. y2. Find my y2. I see it's negative 7. I write that down. Over. Notice that I have that double negative. The first one from the minus sign, the second one from the negative on the number here. So now I'm on the bottom of the fraction. x1. Find my x1. I see that it's negative 8. Write it down. Have a minus sign. I write my minus sign down. I see x2. I find x2. I see that it's 6. I write the 6 down. I check to see, is there anything I can clean up on the top? Yeah, I have that double negative. I'm going to clean that up first. So minus a negative is plus a positive. So this is giving me negative 4 plus 7. And on the bottom of the fraction, I still have that minus 8 minus 6. Negative 8 minus 6. So for some of you, it's very important that you change that double negative right away into a plus sign. Because for some of you, it's really confusing seeing all those extra symbols. Others, doesn't matter to.
Negative.
4 plus 7. Add that together. Should have 11. Negative 8 minus 6. Add that together. They're the same sign if you're adding. You should get negative 14. Feel free to type it in the calculator if you need to. There's no shame in using a calculator. I now have my slope, and that's all I was asked to do is find the slope. Now, when you are typing your answer on the computer, you want to be careful about where you put your negative sign. The computer does not like the negative sign in the denominator of a fraction. So you need to take that negative sign and either move it to the top of the fraction or put it out in front of the fraction. On paper, it's okay to have the negative sign in the denominator. It's not pretty, but it's okay. It's still correct. On the computer wants the negative either on the top or in front. So now I have my answer. Find the slope of the line that passes through these 2 points, 7, 9 and 5, 9. So first thing you do is identify which is your first point, which is your second point, your x, y. So I have my x, y for my first point. I have my x, y for my second point. Makes it easier to remember it when you're stressed in doing your test. Now I go for my equation. M equals y1, find y1, write it down, 9, minus y2, find y2, 9, write it down. Bottom of the fraction, x1, find x1, it's 7, write it down. Minus x2, find x2, 5, write it down. Is there anything that you need to clean up on any of your work, the top or the bottom? No. So then we go to our order of operations. 9 minus 9 is 0. 7 minus 5 is 2. Zero divided by 2. Type it on your calculator if you're not sure. Zero. So now I have my slope. So I have 0 equals m. 0 is my slope. What kind of graph would this be? Would this be a line going up? Would this be a line going down? Would it be a flat line going horizontal? Or would it be a vertical line going straight up and down? If you're not sure, graph the 2 points, 7, 9. So 7 is in my x. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, comma 9. I'm going to count by 2's. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So 9 is halfway between them, 8 and 10. This was counting by 1, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Put my dot down. There's my first point. Second point, 5, 9. So 5 is my x. Count out to 5. 9 is the y. Count up to 9. Put my dot. Connect the dots, draw my line. Remember, I'm not an artist. I can't draw a straight line to save my life. That is a horizontal line. So horizontal lines have a slope of 0. Horizontal line. The equation for this line is going to be y equals, and what is our y value here? 9. The question is not asking for your equation. The question is not asking what is it horizontal, sloping up, sloping down, etc. This is extra information that you might need to know. Well, you will need to know. So the more often you see it, the more likely you'll remember it. The question was only asking, what is your slope? The slope is 0.